Hello everyone, this is a match from round 3 of a para-year rapid chess tournament held on 8th February 2021 between Vidit Gujrati and Magnus Carlsen. Vidit plays his white and opens up with d4, the queen's pawn game. Carlsen plays g5. Vidit goes for the queen's gambit playing c4 and we have e6 by Magnus. Vidit brings knight to c3 and Magnus plays c6 and we have triangular system on the board. Now usually white continues with knight to c3 and then d takes on c4. But here, Vidit first plays e3 and now, as c4 is protected, Magnus plays f5, the stone wall. Important thing here is that the e3 pawn blocks the white's dark square bishop and playing stone wall allows black to develop his bishop. White continues development by bringing bishop to f3. Magnus plays knight to f6. Vidit immediately castles. Magnus continues developing his pieces. He brings bishop to d6. Here Vidit doesn't develop the knight on b1. Here's the plan. Black's bishop on d6 is an active or good bishop, while the white's bishop on c1 is bad bishop. So knight guarding the a3 square for the bishop to develop there and exchanging its bad bishop for Black's good bishop. Thus here, Vidit immediately goes for b3. Magnus stops the development of bishop on a3 by playing queen e7, adding another defender. Here Vidit plays bishop to b2, planning to bring queen on c1 and exchanging bishops. Black castles. As Vidit planned, he plays queen to c1 and Black plays b6, maybe trying to block the exchange with d5 in the next move. We have bishop to a3. Magnus plays bishop to b7, allowing the trade with its captures on d6. Queen takes on d6. And now queen to a3. Magnus doesn't mind exchanging queen and takes on a3. Knight takes on a3. We have g6. Rook f to c1. Knight b to d7. Now Vidit takes on d5. E takes on d5. Here, c takes on d5 is kind of inaccuracy, as it allows the white's knight to develop on b5. And then there were just too many weaknesses in Black's position. Vidit plays knight to c2 and Magnus goes with a5, blocking the knight to come on b4. Also, later in the game, b5 push can be devastating. Vidit immediately stops and controls the b5 square by playing a4. We have knight to e4, planning to push the f pawn and Vidit stops it by playing g4. What a game. Both the players just try to stop each other's pieces from developing. Magnus plays king to g7. Maybe Magnus wants to play c5 and wanna make sure his king is active and as close as possible to the center pawn in the endgame. Vidit goes knight c to e1. We have rook f to c8 and rook c2. Magnus plays c5. Here c5 is not such a good move because it gives bishop a square b5 to get super active, plus now knight on e1 also gets to jump on d3 square. Anyway, Vidit finds this move and plays bishop to b5, attacking the Black's knight. Magnus retrieves his knight to f8. With the double up the rooks, Magnus brings king to d6, and we have knight to f3, building up super pressure on the c5 pawn. What can you do to protect it? If you think knight to e6 is the move, then it's not. After knight e6 comes bishop to d7, after which bishop takes knight, king takes bishop, and then d takes on c5. So here Magnus decides to capture on d4 pawn. Here Vidit took a lot of time to play his move, and the engine here suggests best move as bishop to c6. It's very hard to find with just a few minutes on your clock. but you definitely can't expect to beat the world champion by missing such moves. I'm gonna show you this variation. Bishop to c6, rook a b8, defending the bishop. Bishop takes bishop, rook takes rook, rook takes rook, and rook takes bishop. Knight takes on d4, knight to d7, and only now rook c6. Here, white is way better than black's position-wise. Return to the game. Vidit plays knight takes d4. Magnus goes for the rook trade. Rook captures on c2. Rook takes on c2. Rook to c8, and now rook takes on c8. Bishop takes on c8. We have bishop to c6, knight to c3, b4, and knight to e6. Knight to b3, and now knight to d8, attacking the bishop on c6. Vidit plays bishop to a, the only square where it doesn't get trapped. We have bishop to a6, knight to f4, a takes on b4, knight takes on d5, knight takes on d5, bishop takes on d5. We have knight to d6, a5, b takes a5, knight takes on a5, knight to c5, and now f4. Now bishop to b5, and with it plans to bring his king to the game. He plays king to f2. Magnus plays bishop to d7, planning to go to e6 and exchanging bishops. Here Vidit plays e4, giving a free pawn, which is kind of inaccuracy. Carlsen plays f takes on e4, king to e3, and now bishop to e6. Bishop takes on e6, king takes on e6. Vidit goes king d4, and now we have b3. Vidit plays knight to c4 guarding b2 square, and Magnus defends it by playing knight to a4. And at this position, Vidit lost some time.